We are back on the CTS-V, our project CTS-V that we picked up over a month ago now, and we're just finally getting around to working on it. Gonna try and keep the updates coming on this as well as the Z06 and the 69 Camaro. So this video is going to be on the CTS-V. So when I left you guys, we've driven it around. We've made our list back there, which is getting more extensive by the minute, of all the things that this thing needs. As much as I'd like to tackle, you know, the easy and the fun cosmetic stuff, bringing this thing around, making it look like a brand new car again. The car drives nice. The only thing that was kind of bothering me was that clunk that we went through. I suspect it is a differential just because that's a common issue with these cars. I did crawl around a little bit under there, and I wasn't able to physically push and move the differential, which I've seen online before that, you know, in really extreme cases that can be the problem. So I'm not sure. So I think what I'd like to do right now is set you guys up on the GoPro, and you know, you can watch for me. We'll let the clutch in and out on the lift here a few times, see if we can see anything kind of jiggling around in the drive line or in the differential. Another common issue with these is these, a lot of these late model GM cars use like a two-piece drive shaft with a carrier bearing in the middle, and sometimes those bearings will go bad. So I think I'd like to start with those two areas, and we'll go from there. So yeah, let's tackle the hard thing first. Whatever this clunk is I think the only real major mechanical issue with this car. Even though it drives fine, I'd like to figure out what it is and see if we can take care of it. So let's try and tackle the hard thing on the list first, get that out of the way, and then we can do some of the more fun stuff. So let's start this thing up, see if we can't see or hear some sort of clunk. Well, what'd you guys see? What's the problem? Let's get out here from under the car and review the footage and see what we think here. So, I don't know if you guys can see it on video. Looks like the differential's moving a little bit. Not as much as I would have expected, but it is moving a little bit. I'm not sure if the diff bushing is the only issue, but I think that's where I'm going to start. Previous owner gave us all these creative steel parts. Motor mounts, which I believe it already has some Prothane ones, so not sure if these will be necessary or not. These are all subframe bushing mounts for the rear. Again, they don't look bad, so I don't know if we'll be doing these or not, but they're nice to have. The important thing that I like right here is these two components. This is the front subframe, or the front differential bushing from Creative Steel, and this is like a bushing block that you're supposed to kind of wedge in there, which is also supposed to help reduce movement. So because we have them, I think we're just going to do it. I think we're going to take care of some other stuff while we have the car up in the air. You guys remember the list. I have some exhaust work I'd like to do. The mufflers are rusted out. They look like crap. Not loud enough for me. I don't like the tips. So got some parts for that, which we'll open up in a second. Also, I'd like to remove the exhaust right now because that'll give us better access to not only the differential, but we can inspect that drive shaft carrier bearing as well. So I think what I'd like to do right now, start the car up, get you guys an exhaust clip so we can kind of compare how it sounded before and after, which will also get the oil warm so that we can drop the oil while it's up there and get some fresh oil and filter in this thing. We'll do the fuel filter. I think I'd also like to do the differential fluid as well. Probably can't hurt to do that. Just some service stuff while the car's up in the air. We can clean up the undercarriage a little bit and just knock out a bunch of this stuff on the list right away, some of this mechanical stuff. So let's get this thing fired up, get the exhaust down, get that differential bushing changed, and we'll see how far we get. Oh, there's already a dead mosquito in there. Ew. A little extra protein. Good morning. Next day here. We made some progress on the CTS-V last night, so let me bring you guys up to speed. We knocked out the oil change, 6.5 quarts of Valvoline full synthetic, AC Delco filter, good to go there. Way back here, knocked out a brand new fuel filter. Also, you guys, I think, saw I cycled the key a bunch of times and drained the fuel completely out of the tank so we can fill it up with some fresh 93 octane. Also, got the exhaust out of the car. You guys probably saw on camera, it basically fell out of the car after I undid the last hanger. I tried to use my office chair to hold it up, but that didn't work so well. Anyways, you can see the old Flowmasters off the RMS Titanic here. So these are in good shape. But yeah, basically what I'd like to do is replace that resonator with an X pipe and these mufflers and the tips, as we talked about. Clearly someone's been in here and welded this. This is factory, this is someone else's job here. So we're gonna be replacing that. Here's actually some piping off the 2010 Camaro that we parted out for the LS3 69 Camaro that I'm thinking we might be able to use here after I clean them up a little bit, just in case I don't wanna dig into my expensive stainless pile. But we'll get into that in a second. In the meantime, I've got some updates on this drivetrain and differential situation. So let's get onto the car and I'll show you. So, all along, I've been thinking that this was the rear differential bushing was the source of our clunk. But after reviewing the video footage that you guys will have already seen, I don't think this differential's moving a whole lot. And after further inspection, clean this up. It's got a little bit of surface rust on it, but this thing already has creative steel differential bushing and that rubber block I was telling you about. And they both appear to be in good shape. I mean, this thing is solid. It doesn't move at all. Same thing with this differential carrier bearing. Appears to be, or I'm sorry, drive shaft carrier bearing appears to be aftermarket and in good shape. Doesn't really move a whole lot. Seems to be solid. So I think it's possible that our clunk is due to play in the gears, or in between the gears in the differential. This is also, you know, I've been reading up a lot on this since I started looking into this clunk. This is also a common issue in these differentials. The play just keeps getting worse and worse, you know, as these things age. And I think the fix for this really is to take the differential down and re-shim the gears so there's less of this play. But what I'm trying to say is I don't think that putting in that creative steel differential bushing is going to fix our issue. And I hate to waste hours and hours of time replacing a part that's not bad with the same also good part for it to not fix our issue. So I think that all of our differential bushings, drive shaft, carrier bearing, I think all that stuff is good for now. So I'm going to leave it for now and continue to read up on, you know, possible solutions for the play within the gears in the differential. Whether shimming it is the only option or possible replacement. Other than that, there's no humming or whining at speed. It's just that clunk, which not ideal, but you know, I'd like to read up on it a little bit more before we do anything crazy. And I certainly don't want to waste time replacing parts that are good. So for now, for the purposes of this video, we're just going to leave it and do some other things. For example, place the differential fluid. I don't think that this will help our clunk at all, but I just drained the fluid it was pretty nasty. The car's got 82,000 original miles on it. Not sure if the fluid is original or not, but we're gonna get that replaced. Pro tip, always pull the fill plug before you pull the drain plug. Obviously, if you pull the drain plug, drain all the fluid, and then turns out the fill plug is seized on, as this one almost was, took a little bit of heat and persuasion there, you're kind of screwed. So yeah, make sure you can loosen the fill plug before you remove the drain plug. That's true with any transmission fill as well. We went a little crazy on Amazon. Amazon exhaust specialist. Spent about 140 bucks on 2 brand new exhaust tips, an X pipe, and 2 bullet mufflers. So here's what we got. 2.5 inch stainless bullet mufflers, basically straight through, just a resonator, but we'll call those mufflers. 2 of those, 2 4-inch stainless double wall tips, and I just realized this when I took it out of the package, an X pipe. Considering you can see right through the other side, I don't know if I'd really consider this an X pipe, but I think I paid 25 bucks for this thing. Looks like it's hand TIG welded together, so I'm not gonna complain too much. But yeah, replace the resonator with this X pipe, keep all this all the way back to that crap right there. Make some piping here to the bullet mufflers, to the new 4-inch tips, because like I said, I absolutely despise these stock tips. These should look really good on the car. That's gonna look sharp. Nice and flush with the bumper, fills the hole well. Really like the double wall. I think that's gonna look sharp. So yeah, that's the plan. Let's, I think we gotta run to the auto parts store, maybe get a couple things, including some differential fluid, might get some spark plugs while I'm at it. Do a full tune-up on this thing. If we need some exhaust pipe, grab some. I'm gonna go through my pile of stainless. Like I said, I don't know if I want to use some of my nice stainless for an exhaust system that we're kind of patching together, but we'll see. Maybe I can pick up a cheap straight piece at the auto parts store, but let me dig through my pile, we'll see. But let's get this fluid changed, get going on this exhaust. Real quick before we get into the exhaust video, I pulled off, almost positive this is a factory strut tower brace that Cadillac did. Nice little LS6 emblem on there. You need to remove this with 2 18mm bolts on each side to get to the Cadillac beauty cover here. So remove that to reveal our beautiful but ugly LS6. There's a reason why a lot of manufacturers covered up these LS motors, especially back in the early days. They were just, you know, when you think about a typical small block, they're just ugly, wires everywhere. So, you know, companies like Cadillac and the Corvettes, you know, they got the beauty covers. But anyways, wanted to check the plugs before we went and bought some. Access is a little tight over here. Had to remove the coil packs, or at least kind of tilt them out of the way so I could get down there and get the boot off. What we got here is an AC Delco Iridium plug. Looks to be in excellent shape. My guess is these were replaced recently, or maybe replaced when the cam package was done. So we'll leave these for now. Probably pull this valve cover, or maybe this one, to check the valve springs. I believe they're Brian Tooley dual valve springs according to the receipts I have, but we might have a valve cover leak over here. I've got the gaskets to do it, so we might replace that, take a look at the valve train while we're at it. But we'll get to that later. But in the meantime, I think we're gonna call the plugs good. No sense, again, spending money or time doing something that doesn't need to be repaired. These look really good for, you know, an Iridium plug, which could be good for up to 100,000 miles. And these are definitely not original, so good on spark plugs. Also looks like we had some sort of critter up here at one point, as you expect for a car that was sitting. So we'll get this all cleaned up, you know, definitely degrease and power wash this whole engine bay. I believe this is a K&N filter this guy had on here. For some reason, he decided to cover it in HVAC tape and duct tape. Not sure why, but we'll remove that, get that cleaned up, clean that filter, definitely clean up some of this wiring a little bit. The list just keeps getting longer, but we'll get to that stuff in due time. For now, let's focus on the exhaust. got some updates. So, real quick before we get to the exhaust, let's go into the car. So we went ahead and changed the differential fluid with synthetic. I think I did Valvoline. Same thing with the transmission, the T56. Swapped the fluid. It was a little bit dirty with some ATF, which is what the T56 calls for. You guys saw we did the oil change. So this thing has brand new fluid, you know, from front to back. Good to go. Also cleaned up a little bit of the oil leak that I saw, which I believe is coming from the valve cover on the transmission. Cleaned up that a little bit. Got our splash cover on. So that looks nice, a little bit more tidy. Tidied up some of the wires for those HID or LED fog lights and side markers and all that good stuff. So looking a lot more tidy down here. Same thing with this wheel well liner over here. Brand new wheel well liner in there. On the exhaust side, we got the mufflers cut off, resonator cut out, and I replaced the resonator with this X pipe and a piece of straight pipe that I picked up at the auto parts store while I was getting the fluids. Got this all mocked up in the car. You know, I put these two braces here so that when I originally cut this apart, these wouldn't flop all around. We want the orientation to stay the same. Labeled them so we know which side is up. So I could probably eventually cut these off, but I mean, probably wouldn't even hurt to just leave them for some extra stability for the exhaust. But either way, got all this stuff tacked up. So the next thing I think we will do is mock this up in the car, because these pipes are going to come out right about here, which is where they'll need to make the turn, go into the mufflers, and then out the tip, which, as I mentioned, we may or may not use. This 2.5-inch exhaust off the 2010 Camaro, I'll clean it up, but I mean, this is probably 409 stainless, super solid, just got some surface rust on it from being a 130,000 mile daily driver. But if the bends work out, it could save us a lot of time and a lot of welding and fabrication. So yeah, that's where we're at with the exhaust. Let's keep going with that and keep working on the mechanicals of this car. Can't wait to hear how it sounds. I think these mufflers are going to sound a lot more aggressive than those Flowmasters. Fresh fluids all around. We're making some progress, so let's keep going. Alright, got updates. I'll show you under the car. So this side's still drying, but this is basically what we'd end up with here. I masked off some stuff here and gave the subframe a quick coat of satin black just to protect it, Rust-Oleum, protect it and hopefully prevent any future scaling and surface rust. Looks much cleaner, looks the part. Like I said, this side's still drying, still a little tacky, but it'll end up looking just like that. Also went to town kind of cleaning the underside and the floorboards. Looking much more presentable now. Like I mentioned earlier, we got our new plastic drip tray up there, or air dam, whatever you want to call it. So this underside has come a decent way. Looks pretty good. Let me show you what I got done with the exhaust. Hopefully you guys can hear me over the gale force winds. But here we are. So I think when I last checked in with you guys, we were back to about here. I did end up using the tailpipes off the 2010 Camaro. They were sitting behind the shed for 2 months, and I'm almost threw these away, and I'm glad I saved them because all these bends and kinks and whatnot, mandrel factory bends, saved us a whole bunch of time, and they fit perfect. So we got our mufflers welded on to the tips. I TIG welded these just because this is all stainless, should look presentable. The rest of it just blasted together with MIG welds. It's faster. Definitely not winning any awards for the welds, but hey, it was fast. Covered it in paint so it shouldn't rust. This is all still factory 409, probably stainless. So is this, but wanted to clean it up. Got our aluminized pipes from Advanced Auto painted up. This is stainless, and just threw some paint on there so it looks good. So there's the whole kit and caboodle. Not the prettiest exhaust in the world, but hey, I've seen worse. And it should sound good. We got rid of the resonator, added the X-pipe, added in these bullet mufflers, and some nice tips. I love how the tips look. I think I showed some footage of that already with the mock-up, but you guys will see that later. We got it all mocked up in the car before I took it down to weld it here. But let's let this paint dry up, get this unmasked, throw it in the car, and see how it sounds. All right, exhaust is back on. Got this thing on the ground. Let's just do a quick recap, everything we've done so far. Fluids front to back, oil and filter change, transmission fluid change, rear differential fluid service. We added the splash guard underneath and the wheel well liner over here. We cleaned up a lot of the oil mess, which I think was coming from a leaky oil filter and a leaky oil drain plug. So we replaced the copper O-ring and obviously new filter. Cleaned up a lot of that, wire brushed some of the rusty subframe, painted that. New exhaust, new clamps, new exhaust hips, looks killer. So yeah, we made a lot of progress on this thing though so far. Also forgot to mention, put in 6 or so gallons of fresh 93 octane along with some Seafoam complete fuel system cleaner. And you guys saw we got all that junk off our nice K&N intake here. Cleaned and oiled the filter, cleaned the mass airflow sensor with mass airflow sensor cleaner. Coils are all hooked back up, and we're gonna clean all this up here soon, but yeah, our intake system, nice and clean, ready to go. But I'm really excited to hear how this exhaust sounds, more than anything. So let's fire this thing up, see how it sounds, and take it for a drive. quite as loud as I thought it was going to be. I think those high flow cats that are right off those headers quieted down a good amount, but if nothing else, we dropped some weight. Those rotted Flowmasters weighed an absolute ton. Definitely has some more bark to it. We'll let it warm up a little bit more, and we'll go beat on it, see how it sounds. I've noticed that our oil pressure is reading 130 psi, which is definitely not right. It's maxed out all the time. Got horsepower tuners hooked up here. It's reading the same thing there, so we know it's a problem with our sensor and not the gauge. As far as our speed is concerned, we know we have a problem with the vehicle not reading speed. I'm curious to see if it reads from the OBD2 port, in which case we know the sensor is okay, but there's a problem with our cluster. If it doesn't read from here at all, then we know it's likely the sensor down in the transmission. But we got all fresh fluids in this thing now, so let's let it warm up a little bit. We'll take it for a drive, go beat on it, see how it sounds, what else we might need to tend to here. All right, let's go. As I was expecting it to be. It sounds good though. Alright, well we're good and warmed up now. Let's do a second, third gear pull here. Woo! Guess the camera didn't like the 2-3 shift there. She flipped you around, but sounds really good. I like that. Also, stopped, I think it paused my data log here, but you can see the speedometer is working. At least the input is, but nothing on our tach or our speedometer here, so we know there's a problem with this cluster. So we'll have to research that a little bit. If anyone's experienced this, let me know in the comments what you think it is. It's obviously a problem up here and not with the sensors, so. But yeah, let's go to a spot where I can get some outside rev clips and maybe a drive-by for you guys and go from there. Forgot my tripod. Well, you know, I was getting hot just sitting here making this rev clip for you guys, and wouldn't you know, this thing has got ice cold AC. I love this thing. I swear to God, that clunk is almost completely gone just with that fluid change. You can still feel it a little bit, but I think that's pretty normal. I think that's pretty normal drivetrain slack and probably pretty normal for Gen 1 CTS-V, but it is actually a decent amount better just swapping to some fresh synthetic fluid. You know, you'd have to really be bouncing off the clutch to get it to make that clunk like it was before, so totally acceptable for the way it's driving now. Like I said, I went through every bushing, could not find one that was bad. It looks like the previous owner is well aware of these, you know, common Gen 1 issues and took care of it. So didn't want to waste time replacing stuff that didn't need to be replaced and was going to be a waste of time. But yeah, let's get back and talk about what's next. All right, car's off. We've completed our Italian tune-up. Got the log going just so we can see what's going on. Let's see if our starting issue has gotten any better. Nope. Seemed like it was going to for a second there, but it's so strange. need to nurse it on the gas, and then it's like a switch. Then it'll catch and just idle perfectly all day, the rest of the day. It's really strange. So we'll look at this log, see if we can figure that out. All right, guys, just as a quick gut check, you know, check the basics here. Hooked up a fuel pressure gauge to our gauge here, primed the pump. We have just under 50 PSI and seems to be holding pretty steady. So it looks like we've got good fuel pressure at the rails. Man, it's like a switch. Let's try something else. So unplug the mass airflow, force it into speed density. See what that does. It's obviously going to throw a check engine light, but we'll see if it starts any different. Not really. So we're downloading the tune. It's in this thing right now, so we can see if there's anything obviously wrong. I don't claim to be a tuner, but you know, we might be able to take a look, see if there's any sort of starting airflow, spark, or fuel issue. So let's get this downloaded and come up with a plan from here. Doing some more digging around. I got a service stability system up on the screen here, so I hooked up my scanner, scan that, and we've got some codes here. Lateral accelerometer circuit, range performance malfunction, yaw rate circuit malfunction. So no idea what those are. We're gonna have to look those up, dig into those, but maybe those are related to our speedometer not working issue. Like I said, I believe we have signal obviously from the sensor to the PCM since it reads out on the scanner, but nothing on the cluster. So we'll have to research that a little bit more. If any of you guys know, let me know. Well, if you made it this far, let's talk about price. So I caught some flack in the comments in the last video, probably for good reason, you know. It's a bold claim saying you got the cheapest CTS-V in the country and then don't reveal the price. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm only human. I filmed that video over the course of like over 30 days and I just forgot. I'm sorry. So for my clean title, 2005 Cadillac CTS-V with 82,000 miles and cam, headers, Forge Star wheels, coilovers, overall pretty decent shape. I paid, you ready for this? $5,000. That's 5,000 US American dollars. 5 grand, 5 large, 20,000 quarters, 500,000 pennies, 4.16 2020 US government stimulus checks if you made less than $75,000 per year and file single. Yeah, so I paid 5 grand for this thing. So I am almost 100% confident that is the cheapest CTS-V in the country, probably in the past 3 years that is, you know, sold. Obviously, the used car market has skyrocketed. Who knows if you could have bought something like this in 2019? But I mean, I was on the CTS-V Facebook page the other day, and some guy was asking, I think, $7,500 for one with a blown motor and over 100,000 miles. So, you know, let me know in the comments if you've ever bought a cheaper one and you know someone who bought a cheaper one. But you know, in this used car market, the way it is, for other than putting a battery in it, running, driving, clean title, low mile CTS-V, I mean, 5 grand, come on, it's got to be the cheapest one in the country. But there's still a lot to do. We got to start getting into the cosmetics. There's sap all over the car. This is going to need paint. This is going to need paint. You guys know the rear bumper needs paint. I think it's been painted before. I was kind of noticing the orange peel and some sanding marks when I had it up in the air for the exhaust. The whole car is just, you know, filthy. I still haven't washed it or touched it. There's sap all over the hood. Engine bay needs to be detailed. I've got new emblems coming for it. Wheels need to be refinished. Still have a few more mechanical issues we got to take care of. Leak, I think a valve cover leak, and I'm sure we'll find a little bit more. But as of right now, we've got a solid running and driving CTS-V that sounds much better now. The exhaust tips look awesome, and I couldn't be happier with it. So next video, we're going to start getting into some of the cosmetics, finish up some of the last mechanical stuff, and this thing is going to be coming around real fast. So I hope you guys are there to join me. We'll see you next time.